Hi Cyrus, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me on board.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, in a way, it's Corcoise and Puff Productions talking about today.
Always, I'm happy to do this. I hope that you can edit anything uh, that I say which could be taken in the wrong context. But
I'll
yeah.
try. And there was a reason why I invited you. Cyrus, when we look back at the work for Fevicol, Fevikwik, Asian Paints, Perfetti, it wasn't just advertising. It was a masterclass in collective intent, craft plus brand building. We see a standard of craft. Have we, as producers, lost the ability to build that kind of mazboot jod, not due to lack of talent, but because we are operating in a climate of shrinking patience, hollow budgets, and completely self inflicted, impossible timelines?
Wow.
I mean, what I realized is I could learn from Amitabh back in the day because he had that much to give, that much
Yeah.
knowledge and
Yeah.
experience.
So I'll tell you what, I feel that there is no, the talent is ample in the industry. We continue to produce more and more directors and work which has ample talent in it. So I wouldn't say we are regressing in any which way, but there is a complete difference in the way marketing is being played out. Brands life cycles are going on. So there is a lot of difference from that perspective, which we need to understand. Say, for example, when Prasoon and I started Corcoise, the kind of work, and even before that, the kind of work that was there in the industry was by and large. So there were definite brand thematic films that were brand building projects. You always had an emotional quotient attached to that kind of storytelling, which had everything, which had emotional intelligence, which had a story, which had, whether it was humor, love, drama, etc., all of that. That was meant to stay with people. That was meant to create brand loyalty amongst people's minds because they started feeling a part of that story, a part of that world, I would say. I think over a period of time, what has happened is, what has changed is the reality of consumption.
Yeah.
Now, in today's world, everything is far more fast paced. So, marketing cycles have become faster, which means brand custodians are making films which are basically based on ROI, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it's ROI based, that means you're talking about seasonal work. If you're talking about seasonal work, then it is going to be specific for Diwali, specific for Eid, specific for Holi, very specific. They're not building brand over time. They can come in, create a splash in the market for 2 months and exit.
Yeah.
The digital era has further created this and made small budget, simple storytelling work possible because it's an ROI for the client. But unfortunately, what it does is that it doesn't create brand loyalty, which is what it was many years back.
Yeah.
It's a change or a transition that we have to accept as filmmakers, that this is the new reality of things. So yes,
Yeah.
there is a change. It is much more tactical advertising. It's not as much as thematic advertising.
The
but
word is
that's
strategy.
strategy-based advertising.
Optics.
So yeah. Also, I think the other thing that has happened is, I'm going to try and remember all parts of your question and try and address
Yes.
different parts of it. If I forget, you can remind me if I've
I
not
will,
addressed
I
something.
will.
But say, for example, I feel even in terms of where brand custodians are with brands in their in different companies, they move on faster than what it was. Like say in our parents' time, jobs were there for 10 years, 20 years, probably their entire lifetime. They worked in one company, they worked in SBI for maybe 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Now people move on much faster, maybe 3 years, 4 years. Everyone needs to grow, so they move their jobs much faster. So everyone needs to have brands where you've seen progress in a much shorter graph. You don't have the longevity of 10 years to prove your worth. Within a company, if you want to show what you're worth, you don't have a 10-year window to
Yeah.
show that. So if you have to create that in 3 years, you want to say quarter on quarter what work did you do and what was the benefit that the brand received on it. So I think it's fair for everybody. We need to change and accept this new lifestyle. But yes, there is a change.
Yeah, there is. But tell me something. I always get into this discussion because I've seen these multiple phases in advertising since I've joined. And what happened was there was a producer's time, there was a director's time. Now, today, when it's 2026, when budgets are shrinking, timelines are really getting worse, and who saves the film at the end of the day? Okay, let's not say save the film, it has its own destiny at the end of the day. What I'm trying to ask you is who saves the process? Like, who has to bend down backwards in every time a film comes around?
I think the fair answer to that would be that we, in the production world, we have two business models, right? One is where the production house consists of the producer and the director as a part of the same setup, and they're kind of married to each other. They run the company together in very many ways.
But one is always
And one is which is kind of where the producer is the mainstay of the company and the directors are freelance hired on a per job basis. So your answer automatically will have two separate outputs. In a company where the director and producer are married, say for example in Corcoise, we don't draw this line as to who is where the buck stops. If I see that there is a problem from a creative perspective and there is a dissonance between the creative wants and what the director wants to do, you do need to step in. You can't say it's not my battle to fight.
Yeah.
You do have to step in to sort it out. Similarly, if the client has a budget allocated to a brand, the director can't say that it's not my problem. The director can't ask for the sun, moon and stars, right? And so you work towards solving those problems together, where you create an ideal output, an ideal deliverable within what has been allocated to you, both as a story from a creative perspective as well as from the budget and the logistics available to you. But that marriage then needs to work as a marriage, in the sense that you can't keep pointing fingers, blaming each other. So you kind of work together to solve all problems. So that's where that world lies. In a world where you're talking about a producer and a director, are a producer is the owner of the business and the director is kind of as a freelance, obviously the buck stops at the producer. Obviously the producer needs to take the final hit. The director can do a great job. If it's a great job, everything is hunky-dory. If it's a bad job, the producer needs to figure out how to fix it, whether you get in somebody else to do it, whether however else is required, but you need to figure a way. The buck very obviously stops at the producer there.
Here's a very interesting question, and I really want an answer because I see this more often than ever. When a film works, it's the agency and the director, most of the times the agency, taking the glory in sense of awards. But by mistake, if the film tanks, the first person who gets blacklisted is the production house.
There is a lot of truth in that.
There is.
But it's not as black and white as you say so, only because I feel most awards were designed to award agency creative.
Right.
So as say for example ASAP, the Association of Advertising Producers, when we went about trying to solve this, because we are a producer run association, we decided to start an award called SIFCA, which was primarily based only for craft. The films were not awarded basis the creative content, it was basis only the craft. Yeah. So having said that, I wouldn't say that the agency takes a credit. The way things are designed is that they're the ones who get awarded, because that's how the award ceremonies are designed. The awards are designed that way. Now when it comes to a bad delivery of a film, or I would say a bounced film, it is a tricky thing, because you have to be a higher human being to accept that something went wrong at various ends, right?
That's supposed to be a producer.
No, the producer takes the bad end of the stick, is what we believe, because we are producers. I'm sure the agency gets a lot of flack from the client from their perspective, because most of the times today, you know that clients themselves are not married to agencies.
Right, yeah.
Everything is on per project. It's not retainer. It's not long-term contracts. So if you've delivered a bad project, I'm sure the agency themselves lose the client as well.
They
I
do.
think it would be unfair to say that we get the worst end of the stick. We may lose a job. We may also lose forthcoming jobs from that agency, that creative. Uh, so it's a hit for us as well.
It is.
But I think they do as well because they are kind of equally responsible.
No,
But what
it's-
happens is that the only thing I see it as, we do not have a back channel to address a given situation.
Right.
They have a better possibility of a
To getting that client back.
of a back channel conversation
Yeah.
to salvage a situation. We don't have that. It's not necessarily that we should have created that. It's on us to give that confidence to the agency or to the client to say, if something goes wrong, we are there. We'll solve it for you. If it's ego management, it's a bad deal. But if it's not an ego management, if everybody comes clean onto the table and says that this is what went wrong, this is what went wrong, can we solve it for this, can we solve it for that? I've known producers who have terrible egos and terrible situations where it's difficult to come out of situations. But if you keep all of that aside and agree to handholding, I know it's a big expense, but agree to doing that handholding and taking the whole process through, I'm sure everyone comes out to be a winner.
I hope
Because
so.
then you salvage the account for the agency. The client knows that everyone in the ecosystem works efficiently, so the client's money is safe in that sense, or his brand's guidelines are safe. That is the confidence that we as producers always need to have with them.
Right. I guess.
It is a few days of bad tempers, but yeah, you can solve it
By having a conversation.
by having a conversation. Everything.
Everything.
I've learned this from the worldwide diplomacy that happens within countries. That every day you see some war going to happen or not happen, or happen or not happen. That while there is war footing work that goes on, we can continue to have back channel conversations to keep salvaging situations or maintain a slightly more friendlier profile.
I really hope so.
I think that's also one of the places where experience and years of knowledge may come into place.
Of course it does. Of course, and especially now. Especially now
especially
when the decision making is very important at this point of time, especially because of the budget as well as timelines. Yes, you can try experiment new ways of doing it, because I'm one of those producers who will always be like, oh fine, yes, this is the traditional way. Okay, let's just go look at it differently.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact it comes at as an expense to me.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily being budget, but maybe on the day of shoot I must have gone through a lot of things, probably gone to the chalky twice.
Yeah.
But that's
this is the one thing that kind of how do I say, is the biggest question that I've had for our industry, is that in most cases, okay, in some cases you have an event that you want to catch, say an IPL or a Diwali or something like that. But I would still say about 60-70% of the work is not addressed to a certain date, or even if it's addressed to a certain date, say for example Diwali. Diwali is not new to human beings, right, to people in India. So it doesn't come as a surprise.
Yeah.
The Diwali date has been fixed for 5 years from now, every year, whenever it comes. So why do we land up having only 7 days to deliver a project or only 10 days to deliver? Because it's of no good to anybody. It's not good for the brand itself.
correct.
So I do not know how or why brand custodians want something to be delivered. It's like if I wanted to appoint an architect for my house or an interior designer for my house,
Yeah.
and if the interior designer says, give me 3 more days to give you an out of the box thought process, I'll give him 3 days. Why would I not give him 3 days? My house, I have to stay in the house. My house isn't going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So what are those 3 days going to make a difference for?
I kind of do agree, and I'm facing that right now.
Yeah, and sometimes a certain, say for example, you shot a film on chroma and you need a little more time to clean things up, find a better marriage between the foreground and the background, or you need to create something to make it work better, or you need 3 extra days to shoot because you're going to get a better cameraman in place or a better team in place. I don't get why it can't be given, unless, like I said, that it you have to deliver because of a IPL timeline, or which is also all fixed. So I'm just saying, work backwards from
everything is like the whole world is planning in advance, and when it comes to making the brand film
Exactly,
happen, which
yeah,
is actually helping them to be seen in that
Yeah.
moment all the time. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree when it comes to
And
time
it's,
management.
it's bizarre the two
yeah.
other departments that get kind of phenomenal time on hand is the research team. They never scrounge on that, but somehow they scrounge on the fact that when we have to execute, it has to be executed in 10 days, and that's the bulk of the client's money, right? Because the money for execution, and if you've not given it enough time, then there is a possibility of execution being compromised, and then there is the media money that you'll spend on something that could have been that a little bit better in whichever way.
I agree.
So all of those aspects have to be taken into account.
But see, that's the rule of every business, right? Time is money, money is time, and I don't
point.
even know where to. And that's something I do speak to agencies that जितना आपको पैसा लग रहा है ना, हमको भी वो online के 1 घंटे का लग रहा है.
Of course.
It sees that, it shows, but that comes as bulk to us, right? At the end of the day. So it's a conversation to have with them, but I don't know how much they would want to listen, because of course they are also facing a client's hate.
It's a conversation that if we have a seat on the table where the agency, the procurement, and the brand team, the brand custodians sit together, you can actually come to like I said, the conversations can be had about what is inefficient when it comes to time, what is efficient, or what is a crunch to the extent that it will be a compromise from here on. So it's like saying that, after some point of time, if you keep cutting down on elements of a car, it will become a rickshaw. So your output is going to be a rickshaw if you keep cutting down on things. So you have to figure out, if you want to drop the doors, if you want to drop one wheel, if you want to drop whatever.
I don't know. I've noticed it. They just treat you like.
We've lost the seat on the table.
Yeah, we have. We've definitely lost the seat on the table.
Possibly earlier on, there was more respect for that, where you used to even get clients would wait for 3 months to get a job done. Not out of efficiency reasons, but because of how you wanted to go about things. You wanted to say, this is the quality I want, this is what I'm willing to wait for. If it buys the production house, better crew, better DOP, better location, I'm willing to give it 3 or 4 more days. Now what I understand is that if you say, no, I want a month more because I want to squeeze a different job into the system, of course it's bad on a producer to do that. But
correct.
But otherwise, it's.
Have you ever had this conversation that they are calling Corcoise, okay, for the pitch? They'll be like, no, we want this aesthetic, we want this kind of work on a pitch, on the film. But then why? It's a rule, it's a bid of 3. Then there's an L1 bidder, which is the lowest bidder. And have you ever got a call? पर वो तो मान रहा है, आप क्यों नहीं मान रहे हो?
Of course, all the time. I think virtually now, I would say almost on 75% of the jobs. And my conversation with procurement nowadays is very healthy. Earlier, when procurement just about started entering our industry, or brands started hiring procurement teams to kind of negotiate, I used to get a little irked earlier, but now I feel it's excellent if you can have a conversation, because a lot of times I ask them that, why don't you do a breakup of cost of the industry standard, and you tell us the number of where you reach. And I've actually figured that they cannot reach the number that the brand sometimes wants.
Right.
So a brand has asked for a number that even the procurement team knows that number is not reachable. So how do you arrive there? And the only way you arrive over there is when producers do stuff that need not necessarily be the best way of going about things, but what has to be done has to be done. If the client wants it, then so be it.
Yeah,
but it's not fair pricing.
I don't know about fair pricing. I kind of feel that in that unfair pricing, what happens is the people who really deserve that money, they get neglected in the process. And I've been hearing a lot that it's happening, that people don't end up getting paid, not for 1 month,
Yes,
2
so
months,
I think,
6 months,
yeah, so I
1
think
year.
what happens is that if you bid it for a job which is so unreasonable in terms of that technically whether you produce or I produce or anybody else produces. If we work with a certain set of people from the industry, certain heads of department, certain kind of labor, etc. Labor union is fixed pricing, whether it is feature films, advertising, or wherever it is. It's fixed pricing. Nobody can change that pricing.
Right.
Now, that means where is the money coming from? The money is only going to come from rolling on projects. That is a bad sign, which means that if you need 100 rupees to spend on a project and you have been provided only 80 rupees, that 20 rupees is going to spill over onto some other project, and that bubble keeps growing. That means that one fine day either the production house is going to collapse, or they're going to have phenomenal bad debts in the market, which eventually means that some poor laborer won't get paid, some HOD won't get paid, some post-production studio may not get paid. I mean, I'm only talking out of experience because I've experienced so many different kinds of disputes and issues over time.
In ASAP,
that
there's a lot.
Yeah, because as a producers forum, that's all that we are continuously dealing with various production houses and problems that each one is facing. Then you know that one production house, this production house cannot be worked with because they don't pay anybody in the industry. Now, what is the reason why they will not pay? One is, of course, the bad intent. The other is that they picked up jobs at a cost which can't sustain. It's
Correct.
Unsustainable cost. Say a premium for an A-listed director or whatever else may be. Given that, the brand team comes to a price that they want to pay for a film. Today, the same thing, if a procurement can do, that would be fabulous, because if the procurement says that the cost of a project should be 1 crore, then ideally the client should not ask for a film for 60 lakhs.
Right.
Then after 1 crore, it can be, okay, I can pay a little more because I want a certain kind of a director, or I don't want to spend 1 crore, but I'm okay to spend about 90 lakhs is okay. But if you say you have half of that money, then either you need to reinvent the creative process, where you need to write scripts which work for the money that you have, or address it differently. But if you're not paying the fair price for it, I think it creates a phenomenal crack in the ecosystem of the entire thing. So they will not pay X will not pay Y will not pay Z, and there is a complete vortex which has a downward spiral, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I think it's there, and we can go on and on that we should announce these production houses, because on a very genuine note, I do care for this crew that comes together,
of course,
to make that film. And I think as a producer, if you don't do that, that's your biggest 100%, issue.
Because these are not people who have saved money for a rainy day.
Exactly.
They work on a daily wages basis, and today when you talk about payment cycles which are going 30 days and above, and we are supposed to pay these people at the end of a working day. Imagine that you're not paying 1,000 rupees at the end of a working day to a light boy or to a setting guy or to a carpenter, and it's terrible. It should not be what it is. And 30 days is still okay. I mean, there are clients who want to pay much later because of various billing cycles that they may want to justify.
Yeah, but that also becomes our responsibility to make sure they are getting paid, right?
So
at
eventually
the end of the
you are
day,
causing a huge crack in the ecosystem
because
of advertising.
The roles are simple. As a producer, we get the job, we do our budgeting, but to finish the job, we still need the people.
Yes.
So if we've done this part, the first part right, incorrect, then these guys don't need to take the brunt of it.
So what we've done is, as an association of producers, we did just last month, we did write to brand custodians all across the country in a requestful way, to ask them to understand the ecosystem of where we are, and to somewhere see if within their system they can do something for the system, for improving the system. Because otherwise, there are enough and more people who are going out of survival because they can't go through this process. There's
so many stories.
So many stories.
So
today.
many.
And it's
I
sad
know,
because I know that there was a catering lady who couldn't provide food because she didn't have money to buy raw materials.
Producer who had a heart attack because of the heaviness of the timelines that we face on daily basis, and I think that's a tad bit unfair. Well, they will turn around and say, not my a circus, not my
It is-
monkey.
Yeah, it is true. It is absolutely true. It's not your circus, not your monkey. But when we take up jobs, people will question that why did you take up jobs? In a sense that why are you blaming the 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 brand team, or why are you blaming the agency when they have given you a clear mandate? You can decide whether you want to hire three post producers to say one works for 10 hours and the other works for the other 10 hours.
Right.
We all know that that's not possible,
Yeah.
because then there is the budgetary constraint that comes in. Also, these are jobs that actually don't work on a relay race basis. You can't pass on a bit on to somebody else.
Correct.
Because you are aware of something that's happening, only you can deliver that. You can't just keep passing the
Which
baton.
is the case. Like,
Yeah.
how many people will? Too many cooks spoil the broth. As simple as that.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what it is.
Anyway, moving on. In an increasingly broken system, how has Corcoise managed to continue delivering the work it's known for, and what's the survival hack behind the consistency?
I wouldn't go as far as saying there's a survival hack, but we do have some processes in place. I'll give you an example. What we do is when any script comes in, even at a stage where we are just pitching for it, what we'll end up doing is having an open discussion in office where everybody pulls in. We have 3 directors, 2 producers. We all pool in our thinking process. We all put in our 2 paisa bits about what can be done with not necessarily the script, but what can be done as an output. Yeah. Now what it does is that even if we do small simple changes, we continue to evolve with the script every day. And if we do land up getting the job, then the process becomes even more streamlined, in the sense that the evolution keeps happening till the last day of delivery. We keep thinking about the film, how it can be improved, whether as a part of screenplay, whether as a part of shot taking, whether as a part of some small nuances in performances, in anything, in just where a certain setup should be or could be, etc., etc. But these processes really help change the output of the film, where we are it helps. Every day we help, or every day we evolve with the film. In
Correct.
which case, when a director says मेरे को I have a thought case की opening change कर देते हैं, it may not be possible. On that particular brand, it may not be possible, but there is no harm talking to the agency about it. If there's a window, even talking about it at the PPM, the brand may just say that no, it's not possible. We have to stick to the research. That is our protocol. That is our system. Whatever it may be, it's fine.
I also feel like, and I'll explain where I'm coming from,
Yeah.
because every time we get a script, as producers, of course, we break down the whole script, like take it locations, take it this, everything, all the logistics come in place for us to budget. But what happens is, while we are at it, we are always in a sync with the director that, hey, let's be here, because it helps him or her to develop that treatment note.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Now what happens is, there's an idea on that treatment note, is why in the first place we get that project rewarded.
Correct.
Now we are suddenly digressing. My issue with everything in life is, let's not digress.
I think that's unfair to do, because as producers, I do understand that we have a very logistical mind, but that's not how the world should operate completely. The reason why a producer's job is different from a director's job is because a director brings something else to the table. That is what is the emotional intelligence to the film.
Right.
The producer does the logistical thinking. Our job is to continuously operate in the background to say what is possible, what is not possible, within the time, within the money, within the parameters designed by the brand. So if any of my directors says that यार मेरे को ऐसा thought आया, मेरे को ये करना है,
I think my question would be, what are you ready to compromise in return?
absolutely not. I don't see that at all. If my director wants to do that, my opinion is, or my way of working would be, it's a great thought. Let's talk to the creatives as soon as possible. Take them through it. If they buy into it, we'll do it. I do keep the director aware of the fact that there is a chance that they may say, I like your thoughts, but can we do both options?
Oh wow, yeah. Then
That
again, that
is
ball
a,
is
that is the
That's
most
a trap.
tricky part of it. That is the most tricky part of it. Uh, Having said that, I don't see any other way of going about it, and I would hate to kill a director's fire by saying that no, you cannot. You have to stick by this, because that is a decision that the entire creative lineage should take, which means the brand custodian, the agency creative, and the director, all three need to be on board and say that is there value addition from that idea that you're pitching it with, or it's taking away from our key story. I don't think it's a producer's place to do that. The producer is only the custodian of.
I mean, see, this is something that's coming out of the thought where, let's be transparent about this, that the budgets are not helping us today. But the idea and the intent is one thing. Let's make a great film, no matter what happens, and everyone goes back home happy. That's very important, right? As producers, सबको सब मिल गया, चलो आप खुश रहो. But this question, in this whole thing, no, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. You take away so much attention from what's to be done, because okay, when we take a brief, when we sit for briefing, all the HODs, first thing every HOD will ask, share the treatment note.
Yeah, depends. I mean, I have not encountered it. I have never
Okay.
actually shared the treatment note with any HOD, because that is, I would leave that for the director to do, in the sense that if the director feels that they specifically want to tell the production designer XYZ, it's free for them to decide that XYZ. If they feel that they want to share the entire treatment note, it's up to them. But it's not, I don't interfere in that process at all. The digression part of it, of course, if it was meant to be, say, a guy and a girl walking in a park and talking, and if the director decides that they want to shoot this shot from a helicopter, that is, that is so far out that it's a process that I would step in.
No, I'm not talking about things
But
that are part
yeah,
of this.
but I'm saying that even creatively, if you say in the story, this part needs to come later or this needs to come earlier, I think it's a conversation that the creative, the director must have with the creative, not at the shooting stage, but must have with the creative beforehand,
At the
before going
briefing
into
stage,
the and before going into the PPM, bring everybody on board, then try and bring the client on board, be ready for a dropout of sorts.
If you were a young producer starting a production house today in 2026, given the current lack of professionalism and the budget constraints, would you even do it?
I would say that if you're a young director or producer wanting to come into this arena, start a production house only if you are bringing something new to the table.
Right.
If you have a innovative way of doing something, whether it is filmmaking, whether it is shot taking, whether it is whatever it is, if genuinely heart of hearts you believe you are bringing something innovative to the table, then start a production house. If you have some efficiency strategy, some way of doing something uniquely, do it. There are 3,000 plus production houses today.
Yeah.
If you are leaving something to start this, it's not a hugely advisable space. That's why you need to have something unique about you, then you start. Otherwise, otherwise it's a risky move. I would actually go for more out to say that because there are so many production houses and continuing to kind of come about day on day basis, I don't see why we've not consolidated. In all businesses, you hear
Today Omnicom
mergers
and
of
IPG is
IPG
also,
merge.
yeah.
Before that, the WPP had all kinds of, VML merged with WT. So I feel that while all businesses in the world merge, somehow production houses don't. And I don't understand why there is no consolidation, because if
Do you want to buy a Puff production?
what do you bring to the table?
I bring a lot to the table. You'll be
No,
surprised.
okay, so this is what it is, right? And in again, as producers association, we are also
I'm
great
kidding. Okay,
friends.
it's not for sale.
No,
by
I
the
know.
way.
But as producers, we do discuss often that somebody takes over some other business. It could be completely the opposite, right? It could be smaller eating the bigger fish, or the bigger fish eating the smaller fish. Doesn't matter. The world is open. What will you bring when you merge? What will the other entity do?
Yeah.
So, is it that your director if I bring you on board, you and your director, or you bring business onto the table, the answer is as simple as that. The answer is in business.
Of course,
Nothing
it'll
else,
always stay
right?
in that many
Only in business,
words.
right? Whether even IPG and Omnicom are merging, their answer is not about what creatively brings to business. What does business do? What happens to the business after we merge? So here also we are just simply discussing what happens to the business. If you say that as Priyanka, I bring
Not
in
Priyanka, as Puff Production.
Puff Productions, after being absorbed, we bring in 30 films on the table every year. Maybe it's a good place to be.
It's a
If
great
you
place to be.
say I have a director who's married to me and brings in 30 films a year, say great, come on board. But if you say you get the name of Puff, I'm not interested in the name of
course
Puff
not,
Productions.
yeah.
I'm not interested in the idea of takeover for the idea of takeover.
But I do feel that, especially service industries, that's where we all are. It's a very people-driven industry. It's never like I have tried keeping my company far away from my personal identity, but somehow it all comes back to me. So even if we speak about these mergers and everything, and I'm talking not about the agency world, they bring different things to the table. When I'm talking about production houses, to answer the questions that can they collaborate and become one, most likely not, because unfortunately or fortunately there are two reasons. One is the number dynamics right now are not great. How much will you divide?
I don't agree with that part of it, because you are very specifically you are thinking micro, in the sense that you're saying that in my case this is what it is. I'm not discussing my case, your case.
No, I'm
A's
talking
case,
about in
B's
general
case.
also.
In
Whichever
general, the thing
production
is that,
houses.
for example, if you were to buy amongst the top 3 production houses in business today, suppose Puff had a financier in place and decided to buy one of the top production houses in
Is
place.
everyone listening?
Do you not want to do it?
Okay. Mm,
I mean, it's of course you want to do it. You'll be dancing the night after thinking over this.
see, I do know when a financer comes in place.
No, you don't get
There
into
a
the
lot
don't get into the
changes.
no.
See,
Everything
it's
can
a very
change.
beautiful
It's
side,
no,
right?
it's not like that. If say, for example, if ICICI comes on board and says Puff Productions can buy, I don't want to take names, okay, but can buy X or Y or Z A-lister production house, and after buying this is what you get is longevity, name, all of that. Why would you not do it? You would do it.
I'll just tell you.
But the reverse may not be applicable, right? Because again, you said because it's a service industry. If I buy into a production house that is not necessarily doing a phenomenal amount of work, I can buy into that only if there is some kind of something that I see. That means I see that yes, they have great talent, but they haven't marketed themselves correctly, and so there's potential. So you take them over. But otherwise, what are you buying into? Because that it should
See,
you cannot be that
okay.
after buying over, those people who you bought it over for have left. Most production houses don't have contracts with their directors or with anybody else who's working. So,
but no, why I would debate this out, not debate, I can't say this debate, discuss this further, is because we come to support the creative people. And every time there's a transaction, see, at the end of the day, the minute there's finance in place, you have to bring in numbers. Usko bhi uska ROI chahiye. So, what happens in the process? I'm going to compromise somewhere in some corners, not give my director the right thing, what he exactly wanted, because hey, I have to show the returns of the investment any financer is coming and giving. So, to answer this question, no, I wouldn't.
that's individual choice, but I'm just saying that I don't know why the industry hasn't consolidated.
That's
because I would say that once you consolidate, the longevity of businesses can increase substantially.
That's a conversation I want to have.
Otherwise, it's like small, small bulbs which are just lighting and flickering and going off. So it's causing more damage to everybody. And
And otherwise, fair enough. As a co-founder of Corcoise and a long-term producer, partner, and a support system to one of the most influential directors in Indian advertising, Prasoon Pandey. Drawing from that experience, how would you guide younger directors to not just survive, but stay honest to their craft in today's intent driven, hyper efficient advertising ecosystem? Yeah, those words are important.
Yeah.
AI understands them better.
Okay. So, to be extremely honest about this, I feel that that there is phenomenal talent out there at this point in time. Okay, so say many years back there was a great differential between directors in that sense. Now there is so much talent out there. A lot of directors are phenomenally good at the jobs that they do, but I don't think agencies or brands are just looking at pure craft anymore. There is pure craft actually does not have a reasonable stage or a platform in our world today. What they're looking at is a slightly more hybrid model. When I'm talking about hybrid model, I feel that a director must not only be able to have the craft, but needs to have a certain emotional intelligence. They need to be able to have patience for hand holding. They need to have the patience to hear somebody, to understand somebody else's problem. And this is not necessarily just about directors, it's about a production house, which means a producer being involved as well. So you're talking about somebody who has the knack to handhold, form relations. I think forming relationships has become such a huge part of our business that you no longer can be, the erstwhile maniacal directors that you used to have, or producers that you used to have, who put everything into the garb of passion. That you said, I'm a passionate filmmaker, and so you were arrogant, you were loud, you were obnoxious, etc., etc. All those times have gone.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard about it internationally, right? They were like that, or they
Few
were like
in
that.
India
Yeah.
as well, but
Yeah.
okay.
So you had all of those issues. I don't think any director today or any producer today can survive in those ways. Besides having a craft, which is only one box that you tick, there are many other boxes that need to be done, and that includes, like I said, the emotional intelligence, that includes the hand holding, that includes relationship building, and of course, most importantly, the ability to consistently deliver. The people need to say that if I'm putting in 50 lakhs into you, I know for sure I don't have a bad product. That surety is extremely important today.
I agree. That does make sense, yeah.
There is a stress point because of logistical issues, which have time management, which have money management, all of that. When you're at the table with a client, all these pressure points build up humongously. You don't want a team member who is a further stress point, whether you say from a client to an agency or from an agency to a production house. We can't be their stress point. We can't be people who make them walk on eggshells. If we make them walk on eggshells, you are only there for that one job. However good that job is, you'll.
But see that okay. I beg to differ here. It's not about making them walk on the eggshells. See, at the end of the day, what happens is we are service providers. We have never, and I've seen this nature in our industry a lot more, and internationally not, where producers are not treated like ho jayega, chal jayega, kar lo na. What is this language? Like, boss, we are not joking here. We are accountable to everything that happens
Completely by a point.
emotionally, physically, and mentally to people.
Completely.
On this set.
Completely.
Right? So when you don't tell them, like, hey, buddy, this is getting too much, it's not me saying that, oh, I'm becoming difficult for you. Yes, I want to find a solution for you. We are problem solvers at the end of the day. All of us want to solve a problem. That's why we are on board. But at the end of the day, if there are always some or the other ulterior motives going on within that whole ecosystem of a shoot getting prepared, and I find it very strange because
that is primarily called trust deficit.
Yeah.
If there's a trust deficit in any three, which means that from a client to an agency, agency to a production house, that project will always suffer from perspective that it is going to be a volcano waiting to erupt at any time. So if conversations can be clearer, more transparent, more honest, you have a good chance of solving most problems.
जी हुजूरी नहीं करनी है. Like आप हमें काम दे रहे हो, nobody is promising us the next job. In our industry, the language is called गाजर देना.
People जी हजूरी जी हजूरी करने वाले लोग वो होते हैं who are fixers, who are not producers.
Yeah.
But जी हजूरी has I mean, you've made a very harsh context out of it. You can work in agreement. You can also work in disagreement, as long as you say, okay, I respect your opinion, and let's agree to disagree on something. So you do that, but the agency is your client, and the client is the agency's client. So finally, you are answerable to the agency, and the agency is answerable to the client. So
I agree.
as long as you know where the buck stops, it's what it is. The buck from where you are, what you shoot, the buck stops at you. What you deliver to the agency on a creative communication basis, the buck stops at them.
That is there, but then comes this, like I said, the professionalism part in between, which is very, like, day by day it's getting blurred.
But come on, that is there in every industry, no? It's not only our industry. You will have it
I know,
everywhere.
but
there will be people who talk beautifully but do different things. There are people who may not talk beautifully but are
they're there.
They're more steadfast, more reliable, more of everything. So
fair enough.
सब 5 उंगली सेम नहीं होती है.
What do you miss the most in the way films are made today, in our collaborations, on our sets, and in the relationship we share with our crews?
Actually, I feel that in fact things have improved much more than what it was 30 years back. When I came into this world, not as Bond, but into the advertising world, sets used to be a lot noisier. People used to have a lot of anxiety and a lot of kind of harshness. Today, I think people are a lot more friendlier, more sophisticated, more,
I think that's happened in our side more than the other two fronts, like the agency and the client side. Like, we've become more chilled out, we are becoming more welcoming, we are becoming more...
For sure,
hey,
we are becoming
be what
more,
you want to do.
Yeah.
And be who you are.
Yeah. So, you don't no longer try to change every person's character on set to meet your blueprint of what people should be on set, right? You allow people to be who they are. As long as your work gets done, you're fine with that. And so that allows you allows for lesser friction on set. And so it's friendlier, the banter is more. As long as you establish the fact that work means work, beyond that we are friends. But
when it's 11 to 5, let's make everything happen.
And you need to be able to know fairly fast in your game. When I say in the game, in the sense the moment the job is confirmed, you'll know which are your weak spots. Which means if a certain HOD is a weak spot, if a certain assistant is a weak spot, etc., you know what it is, and you should know how to cover for it. Which means that you bring in somebody else who twins the job or duplicates the job.
Or you find a plan B that, okay, what if this goes
or
wrong?
you do a little more follow-up, right? You from that person you need a lot more follow-up. With somebody else you'll say,
I agree.
I've briefed this person, I know on so and so date I'll get whatever I want. Somebody else, you know that you need a lot more following up.
Makes sense. Cyrus, at the end of the day, a budget is just a number, but the intent is the soul. If we reach a point where AI can mimic a Corcoise film for 1/100th of the cost, what is the one human variable of intent what a client simply cannot buy from a machine?
It's a very tricky question to answer because it has many parts to it. I'll tell you, some parts are, I would say, not about numbers. It's about the human game.
Yeah, it's the human game.
And which is the game that I feel most uncomfortable with. And I'll tell you what it is that I don't care about what will happen to a Corcoise or about me as much as what will happen to the thousands of people who work in our industry. Industry which is heavy on human hours, man hours. Say for example, car makers. Okay. Now car makers worldwide shifted from factories having X amount of humans who work in it to having completely robotics, all machine-based stuff. Now, this kind of world is okay in Europe where they actually don't have that level of population and they're replacing their lack of numbers through machines. I don't know why the world needs to duplicate working systems everywhere else. So while a machine can give you a certain level of consistency, it can take away many other jobs. And why do you need that level of consistency in very many ways? You know, if a car has a leather seat and if 2 stitches are too many, so be it. I mean, Priyanka's car is different from Cyrus's car with 2 stitches in it.
Yeah.
You know, so how does it matter? But what you're doing is that you've managed to get rid of 2,000 workers in a factory because you've put robotics in place. Similarly, when you put AI in place, what you're saying is that you no longer need to construct a set, correct?
Yeah.
You will probably, at this point in time, it may mean that you're only shooting a person against a green screen or a virtual background or whatever it may be, and the rest you'll replace it in AI. Now, what happens is that every day on my set, I have maybe about 80 workers from the art department. I've lost them, right? I don't need them anymore. If I have to replace, say, a lighting setup, because if it's a chroma setup, the chroma setup may have 6 people versus right now I'm employing 18 people from the lighting team. So who's the person who's benefiting from this? Say it down. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that it's unfair because it'll eventually affect everybody. Right, because what happens is that because slowly and steadily what will do is, yes, of course, because what will happen is slowly and steadily people will have lesser spending power because they have lesser employment. When you have lesser spending power, which means that person A will buy one lesser soap, one lesser shampoo, one lesser something, one lesser something.
That whole ecosystem of spending.
So the whole ecosystem of spending goes for a toss, and eventually everyone will get affected. So you've come with AI. If it's aiding and abetting a better output, use it. But if you're killing people's daily bread and butter, I think it's unfair to do that. At this point in time, if you were to ask me about where we are, I would say it's nascent. AI is nascent. Fortunately, what AI can't do is it can't replicate the emotional intelligence that a director brings onto the table. What we can do through discussions with agency creative or with HODs on set is that we grow with the project every day.
From point A to point B.
We grow from point A to point B, which means that when an actor comes on board, the actor has the ability to tell the director कि मैं ऐसा करके दिखाऊं क्या या वैसा करके दिखाऊं क्या. Who's going to take that call if it's AI? That AI can't do that.
Yeah.
Similarly, the director can tell a creative that यार मेरे को लग रहा है कि suddenly music में ये होना चाहिए या वो होना चाहिए. Where is that value addition? AI can't do it. AI is formatted. It's formulated.
It uses its own brain.
It's using its own brain based on data. And it's
how many ever words you put in, मुझे जो समझ में आ रहा मैं वही करूँगा.
So it has only one way of going from A to Z versus the advantage of a human mind is that we have developed, we come at a place where we have 30, 40, 50 years of experience, of culture embedded in us, of human intelligence embedded in us, in understanding other people's emotional intelligence or emotional being, empathy, sympathy, etc., all kinds of humor, emotion, what makes you laugh. Everything doesn't make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
Only a human director can say that for this product, because this is talking to this level of market, what is the brand of humor that works, or what is the brand of emotion that works. AI can't do that. AI can give you a generic answer as to what emotion. So at this point in time, I think it's very nascent, and I think what humans can bring to the table, AI can't bring to the table. It can replace monotonous stuff.
LHS, RHS.
Yeah, so it can replace monotonous stuff, but it cannot replace people who bring thought value to the table, creativity to the table. So that's that. But yeah, I would say it's very, very important to use AI very specifically where it doesn't damage the world. I think it will be disastrous for so many people to not have jobs.
Yeah, I agree. I have a lot of thoughts behind this, and I really fear that what will happen when the people who actually make a film will not, they will not even know, like when is that job gone, and that's such a very, it's a very hard pill to swallow. They will
Of course it
be
is,
like,
yeah.
hey, I don't know what happened, हम तो हमारा काम कर रहे थे हर दिन.
Yeah. It's in a way it's what happened to Kodak and Fuji, right?
Yeah.
That they thought films negatives can never be replaced, but one fine day they, while they were still trying to dispute it in forums, they didn't realize when they got wiped out with digital. So
Even we
this
have,
is
no?
this is what
TVC
can happen.
is now called DVC, where now DVC and both of them combined are called content. I don't even know when did this start happening.
So, I mean, I feel that to stay relevant, we as producers need to do a lot of work on ourselves. That's something that we have we've shied away from, and we need to keep reading, we need to keep understanding what is new, what is where. We don't need to take everything on board and act upon it, but we need to have the knowledge of it. We need to evolve.
Yeah. What's something the industry praises today that you think will quietly apologize in 10 years?
I would go back to the exact same point, which is AI.
AI.
Which is, I feel that if you were to replace, I'm just saying, okay, going from 0 to 100 straight away, that if you were to replace every film and make it AI, suppose AI had become so good by tomorrow that you could actually make everything on AI, you would have replaced probably about 5 lakh people from our industry.
More than that.
Maybe more than that, to maybe say 1,000 people who will work on machines to get it done. Now, what happens with these 5 lakh people who are jobless will slowly the productivity of everything will come down. The economics of the entire thing will die. They will no longer have the ability to spend money because they don't have jobs. If they don't have the ability to spend money,
वो 10 रुपए का लेस कौन लेगा?
हाँ, वो कौन खरीदेगा? वो शैम्पू कौन खरीदेगा? वो सोप कौन खरीदेगा? वो गाड़ी कौन खरीदेगा? All PAs and DAs will no longer be able to buy their Marutis and
I don't know about the Marutis, but
Kias.
This is the amount I want per day.
Yeah.
That's another conversation.
I wish we don't make ourselves regret this invention.
That allowance. Modern, see, it's an invention, it's a great invention. There are things that it is efficient for and it's much faster for, and it is beneficial, I'll not deny. But when it comes to art, creativity, things that is helping a human feel something, that cannot be replaced. So this question is a very important question for this podcast because it's called Intent in the Age of Noise. When all these optics, metrics, and etc. will die, what do you want the world to remember Cyrus Pagdiwala for?
I feel that I want to leave behind for the next generation some way of saying that do your job diligently, honestly, efficiently, transparently, do it well, keep thinking of how to evolve both from an industry perspective as well as doing your own job in a better way. I love the idea of giving creative wings, and I feel that every producer must look forward to giving creative wings. When agencies throw challenges, I love to deliver to those challenges. But I do want to leave behind that for the next generation, which is to do it diligently, to do it transparently. Don't try and be a fixer. Be an honest producer. Be efficient at what you do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.